Former Chancellor George Osborne and his wife, Dear Rogers, were given an unwelcome surprise on the weekend when a protester crashed their wedding just as they walked out of the church, and she threw orange confetti at the newlyweds.
Is protesting at someone's precious day, their wedding, taking it a step too far?
To discuss this, we're joined by author and commentator Konstantin Kisin and Tracy Maligan from Insulate Britain. Konstantin first, what do you think? I mean, you know, free speech, somebody's right to throw orange confetti over newlyweds? Is it
throwing things at people in speech are very different things. You were a politician once. Some people might take issue with decisions that you made. Should they turn up at your house and throw? You don't know what they're throwing. You got to remember this. George Osborne, look, as he's walking away, you can see he looks quite concerned because a stranger's walking up to him and is about to throw something on him and his bride. I think that is erosion of the public safety of politicians. And by the way, we've obviously had a series of incidents in this country and in the United States where, as you know, most politicians are having to walk around with bodyguards now. Is that the society we want to be moving to?
Well, Tracy Maligan, you are a spokesperson for Insulate Britain. You have taken part in direct protest yourself. You've sat on the M25 a couple of years ago in order to protest. Now, that causes aggravation for drivers, of course. Would you go as far as it to interrupt someone's wedding?
If I'd been asked to do that specific action, I'd have had to say I couldn't do it because I couldn't promise that I wouldn't have slapped him instead of just throwing confetti.
Oh, right, you'd hit it.
Non-violence. I'm really angry. Like, this man is responsible for killing.
Sorry, what's non-violent about slapping someone?
Listen, what I said was I would have said I couldn't do it because
you would have
non-violence is so important with the resistance that is happening. You know, people are in resistance because we don't want to revolt in revolt. And the truth is, you know, I've heard you, Konstantin, say, you know, that feelings do not matter as much as the truth. And the truth is they killed 330,000 of our most vulnerable. Now, if any other gang of people had done that, they'd be in prison. But because their MPs are having more posh parties.
Right, so...
When was this trial, sorry, where they were convicted of murder? When did that happen?
It's the austerity figures, 330,000
So you're linking
people.
the measures to the deaths of that many people.
I'm giving you...
George Osborne himself, personally, isn't responsible.
Well, you're what about it, aren't you? You said, what about if...
Sorry, you're what about
been asked to do it? What about if it had been not confetti and wasn't just paper? You know, what about if? So I was just playing your what about game. So what about if I'd personally been asked? I'd have had to say I'm too angry with that man and non-violence is really, really important because he also led climate denial, right? You can't seriously be like, oh, poor Georgie boy's feelings with a bit of confetti.
Konstantin,
how did George Osborne lead climate denial?
He was really responsible for a lot of terrible media messaging that went out. He said he didn't want Britain to be leading in it. Do you not know that, Ed?
Climate denial, really?
Yeah, honestly. Shocking, right? I know, and he looks like such a nice man.
I thought David Cameron was the person with George Osborne who persuaded the Conservative Party to embrace saving the planet, hugging a husky, tackling climate change. Was that?
Well, they might have said that to the public, but what they did behind the scenes was not that at all. They were writing climate denial reports, they were cancelling projects that we needed to do. Come on, Ed, you need to do a bit of heavy reading.
Tracy, go and tell us what happened.
Sorry?
Tell us what happened.
What happened with what, darling?
With what you... Sorry, you don't need to call me darling. Tell me what it is that you think Ed should know.
That our government MPs at the moment are issuing kill policies, right? We're in this climate crisis.
We've got George Osborne.
Are we? I was told we shouldn't talk about George Osborne.
No, you just said that George Osborne... about George Osborne that everybody should know. I'm just asking you to explain what it was.
Everybody should know that austerity was 330,000 deaths. He wrote and led the leading of the writing of climate denial. You know, Boris Johnson apologised for it in one of his speeches.
Can you just tell us one thing he did to
set back climate change? You know, it's like letting people like Julia Hartley-Brewer go on Question Time and say, well, there's just
Sorry, you just said you don't like whataboutery and now you're talking about somebody else.
Julia Hartley-Brewer was not a Conservative MP.
When on
George Osborne had no role. George Osborne had no role.
All these jobs are linked, right? They go round and round the circle. MPs, media, lawyers, corporations.
In what way is George Osborne connected to Julia Hartley-Brewer? I'm not sure where we're going with this,
Or who goes on Question Time.
OK.
I didn't understand that at all.
OK, so part of the problem that we have, you're asking how has George and media and other people led us into this mess? By not having the right conversation.
Isn't the bigger question, if you want, as a movement, to Insulate Britain or Just Stop Oil, to persuade people that your cause is worth supporting, you have to do things which make people think, well, I support that. people don't support
that's
blocking the
an MP's job.
M25. They don't support, I don't think, throwing things on people, and they don't support people coming on this programme and then kind of not being able to say anything.
But they
coherently.
also don't stop wanting the changes that we need just because they don't like what we're doing.
I want the changes. I want to tackle climate change.
So how are we going to get there?
Well, we got there because I was part of a government which introduced the first ever energy tax into our country.
The courts have just said that our current targets are dismal.
I was talking about 1997.
Failing.
You made an allegation about George Osborne.
All them years wasted.
And then you were unable to substantiate it. And the problem is, you set back the cause.
Julia Hartley-Brewer being on question time.
What's it got to do with anything? You set back your cause.
Everything to do with everything. How our media is reporting this, how our MPs are talking about this.
We're listening to you.
We're also concerned
it's not about the media reporting
about saying what is popular.
We're listening
so you don't want to just tell the truth.
We're listening to you and what you're saying. Tell me one thing George Osborne did to set back the cause of climate change while Chancellor.
You can all Google it. He said
he didn't
want Britain...
You can't make an allegation about me.
Listen to me then, Ed. Let me finish.
You said to me, get with the programme, Ed, get on top of it. I'm saying to you, tell me one...
I didn't say.
You did say that. You challenged me that I didn't know what I was talking about. So I'm asking you to tell me one thing which proves you know what you're talking about. Tell me one thing George Osborne did as Chancellor to set back climate change.
He didn't put it to the top of the agenda. He didn't talk about it openly and honestly. How are you still denying that climate denial is a thing? The people who led it have been on
Who's denying that climate denial is a thing?
Called Big All versus the World.
Tracy, hold on.
You know, we did this.
Tracy, who is denying that climate denial is a thing? They've asked you for one example of something George Osborne did, and you haven't been...
He killed 330,000 people, and
you have an opportunity to persuade millions of people. You have an opportunity right now to persuade millions of people to do what you think.
That George Osborne did to set back climate change.
So what they're doing here, what is going on, is not wanting to have this question. Do you remember when Laura Tobin did a lovely segment? Last time Liam was on, he was in this seat. Laura Tobin did a segment on the science. Do you remember what you said as soon as she'd finished? Because it made me cry, Susanna.
Oh, I'm sorry it made you cry. What was it?
You don't remember Laura Tobin giving a...
Yes,
we don't
Laura
really know
Tobin's
what you're talking
morning.
about, to be honest. So you might have to tell us a little bit more.
You turned to Liam and said, is your house insulated? Now, that is just all you're doing is setting us up to
Liam's
shoot
from
the messenger.
Britain.
So shoot the messenger. And do you know where that phrase comes from? Don't shoot the messenger.
Why did that make you cry?
Because you heard how terrible things are going to be, water shortages, food shortages, and you, smarmy, looked at Liam and went, is your house insulated? Like that, an intelligent response. That is shooting the messenger.
Your campaign is literally to get everybody's house insulated. I just wanted to know if the spokesperson from Insulate Britain...
So you think that's an intelligent question? It's so not. We are so being failed.
It's a perfectly appropriate question.
It really isn't in the grand scheme of things, is it? An appropriate question would be, how are people who are poor and in forced poverty dying in the hundreds of thousands going to afford insulation? And should we look after each other and work together?
Yes, that's also a very legitimate question.
Or should you keep talking about
that's a legitimate question.
Hurting people on the streets who are asking for this madness to stop?
Yeah. OK.
You know, we need deliberative democracy, don't we? Not this popularity contest.
Do you think when you block the M25, you advance your cause or set it back?
Me personally, I have seen the effect it had on the people. Last time I was coming on here, I didn't even tell my mum.
What was the answer to the question? Does it advance the cause or set it back?
A little bit of orange confetti and the world will think each day. So we are advancing the conversation, aren't we?
You can't come on the programme and not answer any questions at all.
How is that not answering a question?
I'm asking you a question. When you block the M25, do you advance the cause of tackling climate change or do you set it back?
Yeah, because people don't want to cut off their noses.
What's the answer?
I didn't hear about the climate crisis.
Can you answer any questions at all?
Can you give me a few minutes to answer it?
Go on.
So I hadn't heard that there was a climate crisis until there was protest, right? Many of us out there do not know because we trust that our media, our government, if things were this bad, they would let us know. But it's only because I'm disabled that I've had loads of hours to watch select committees read really, really boring, dull reports that I know what is going on, and that breaks my heart. You show all the time people who hate what we're doing on the streets, but I know because I've been on them, there are loads of people who come up to us and say, thank God, because I feel like I'm going mad. What conversation are we having around this?
The problem is that Laura Tobin, who you mentioned a moment ago, advances the cause of tackling climate change when she comes on our programme. And I'm afraid your protests and the way you are answering questions today sets back the cause of climate change.
You don't help Laura when you hear Laura and then say, is your house insulated? Like that's, you know... the wit of the world.
Just think you
It's
make it
really
worse.
not.
Why is that? I still don't understand why it's in.
You don't understand why that made me cry.
No.
You don't understand why you hearing about us facing, our children facing drought, famine and war, and your response being, is your house insulated, Liam, broke my heart, Susanna.
Why?
Susanna, may I ask a question?
Yes.
You can.
Tracy,
Good luck.
Just I'm curious, what percentage, if you could tell the people of Britain, what percentage of global climate emissions is Britain responsible for?
OK, so every country is
No, just answer, what percentage? It's a figure.
Every country
I'll tell you,
is responsible for
it's
about
2%.
1%,
It's
apart
2%.
from China and India, which we
now,
do our dirty work. Grow up.
I'm trying. If we do what you want, which is spend £1.5 trillion, which is about 8 years' worth of the NHS budget,
Want to stop funding fossil fuel
net
companies.
zero, if we do that, by what percentage will we reduce global temperatures about which you're so
Look,
concerned?
your argument is silly. You
No,
are
could you answer
saying
the question? What impact will we
is
make?
not telling people what they want to hear. Leading is doing the right thing regardless of what anybody else are doing. And China actually are way ahead of us.
If we reduce
I'm going to say that is the first thing you've said today. I agree.
So if we do
If you
that,
gave me a bit longer, I think we
what
should agree on a
result
lot.
will we
It's a
achieve?
really uncomfortable
You've got to tell the
situation
people
for
of
me.
Britain, if you want to spend
And you brought
1.5
this man in just to argue
trillions,
with me.
if you were to spend
Distract.
£1.5 trillion of British taxpayers' money, what result would you achieve? I think people would like to know that.
What we need is deliberative democracy. We need participatory budgeting. We need people.
So you don't know?
We need
You don't know what
I know
impact
what
on
we
global
need.
temperatures
And we
will
all
have.
need to take responsibility for this.
Okay.
Start having real grown-up
I-
conversations.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, this is going to make you happy because we've got Laura Tobin
We do love Laura.
on the programme.
I think she's incredible.
She won't make you cry, Tracy. Thank you very much indeed, Tracy Madigan, Konstantin Kisin. Laura, take it away.
Good morning. Well, as you both said, and as the viewers know, communicating